Governor John Kasich's budget up in flames. Republican lawmakers strip away everything from a tax on big oil to Medicaid expansion.
I've been here a long time. I think I've never seen anything quite as confusing.
A coalition of healthcare advocates, hospital associations, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, and Democrats unite behind Kasich and vow to push on.
Listen to the people, because we will remember you in 2014. We will remember you in 2016.
At the center of the storm, the architect of the House budget, Representative Ron Amstutz.
We have removed a series of provisions in the bill.
Amstutz, chairman of the House Finance Committee, is our newsmaker coming up.
Plus, Democratic lawmakers begin the push for a separate Medicaid bill. Will that be possible? Senate Minority Leader Eric Kearney joins us.
And our always lively two sides debate on the top political issues of the week, next on Capitol Square.
And welcome to Capitol Square. I'm Tracy Townsend.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Heath. What a week
Boy.
at the State House. Just about every major provision in the Kasich budget plan was scrapped by Republican lawmakers.
Boy, was it a week. The House budget cuts Kasich's proposed 20% state income tax to 7%. It eliminates the tax increase on the oil and gas industry. It eliminates the expansion of the sales tax base, and it also eliminates the 50% tax cut for small businesses. The most controversial item, though, is the elimination of Medicaid expansion.
Yeah, and that decision, Tracy, led to this protest at the State House on Thursday. It was certainly an eclectic group. Healthcare advocates on the left, along with hospital associations, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce on the right, along with Ohio Right to Life, Democrats, all in support of the governor's plan. Just about all of the 2,500 supporters sitting in the rain, I might add, had a message for lawmakers.
You know, we felt so positive when Governor Kasich supported Medicaid expansion, and he did it because it's the right thing to do. And so now to hear people from his own party turn their back on the working poor, it's incredibly frustrating to us.
Listen to the people, because we will remember you in 2014. We will remember you in 2016. If you can't stand up for your country, your state, your local government with this Medicaid, we will remember you.
In addition to me, there are a number of people out there that if they had the Medicaid insurance, they would be able to get back to work. But right now, because they don't have any insurance, they can't get the health care that they need and therefore are incapable of working.
The House budget now the center of attention in Ohio politics, and in the center, in the middle of that center, the architect of the budget, House Finance Committee Chairman Ron Amstutz, who joins us now. Representative Amstutz, good to be with you. Let's start there. I mean, you hear the voices of the people. You saw that protest at the State House, and it's such an interesting coalition of the right and the left, from the Ohio Chamber of Commerce to traditional progressive healthcare groups. I mean, what do you say to them on the Medicaid issue?
Well, there's actually a great deal more common ground there than the noise would suggest. And in fact, the budget that the House is now looking at, which is our version that will probably change a little bit more within the next few days, is actually massively similar to the budget that the governor proposed in many ways. And of course, by the time we're done, I think we'll find also further actions that bring it close together. Is that code for, I want to play this clip from Speaker Batchelder because it raised a few eyebrows regarding the vote count in your caucus. So let's play that now. Here's Speaker Bill Batchelder talking about the Republican caucus.
20 people might shoot themselves before they voted for it. 20 people might indicate to me that they're for doing something because we have too many people with problems out there to do nothing. And then we have 20 people who are saying, if we don't know any more than this, I don't know how you can count on us to vote either way. So that is the situation.
All right, so I'm not very good at math, but if I go with the speaker's count, and there was 20 probably leaning for Medicaid expansion and 39 Democrats, that gets you there on Medicaid expansion. So why is it not in the bill? How did it get removed from the bill?
Well, first of all, the removal is important because the level of uncertainty is hard to describe. And so this gives us a chance to change the conversation a little bit and to start to think about where we're going here. And part of that thinking is conversation with some Democrat members to see if there is a willingness to find a path that we can both agree on to move forward in that area. So that is a possibility that is under discussion. We have to talk with our members about this too, because we have principles and there's common ground with those principles, but they aren't going to be as was proposed by the federal government through the Roberts decision. It'll have to be some kind of different path that shapes Medicaid in ways that we're trying to do now. The administration's been doing a good job with our help, I think, in changing Medicaid to make it more effective, efficient, and actually helpful to people. But we aren't there yet, and if we're going to talk about adding more people to it, we need to also be changing more clearly and aggressively that program to help people.
And let's talk about the people. I mean, how much consideration was given to the, nearly 250,000 of Ohioans who would be affected by the expansion of Medicaid, or was this strictly political? Because I think a lot of viewers and constituents think that it was.
Well, there's people working full-time and even overtime to try to create that division, because that is of interest and sort of entertaining. But this is too important to let those caricatures drive the conversation. There are people of goodwill on both sides who are spending, they're very invested in this, and they see it differently. But the point is, we really can do some things together, and even the version that's currently pending, which may change some more before we pass it out of the House, is putting many millions of dollars, more than hundreds of millions of dollars of new money into trying to help folks who have addiction problems and aren't insured now, who have mental health problems and are not insured now. So there is this conversation around common ground that I think we need to continue.
But I guess what is kind of confusing is that the first 3 years, the federal government returns Ohio tax dollars on this Medicaid expansion. The governor on this program talked about that, the $13 billion that he estimates. As a matter of fact, I don't want to put words in the governor's mouth. Let's just, can we roll it? This is Governor John Kasich on this program talking about this Medicaid expansion.
There's $13 billion of Ohio taxpayer dollars that we can bring back to Ohio to make sure that we can cover the working poor. About 50% of the people we would cover are working poor. They're at less than $15,000 a year in income. In addition to that, if we don't do it, the federal government's going to cut off reimbursement to those hospitals that are treating people who can't pay. You know what that means? Chaos in our rural hospitals. We can't have that. We can't have a meltdown of our system.
Chaos, meltdown of the system. How did you answer? I'm sure the governor made that same pitch to you and Speaker Batchelder. I mean, how do you respond to that?
Well, we see the concern there, and there is a serious problem here. There are very sharp edges in the so-called Affordable Care Act, and they're coming at us, and we have to work with those because that's our responsibility. But let's talk about this money. The federal direction is, I mean, the immediate fiscal cliff is only the first cliff. The fall, we're headed into very, very, very deep water. This is not money that's available now. This is money borrowed not from us, not from our kids, it's from our grandkids.
Could you not, the representative, put like a circuit breaker on that?
That meltdown is going to be a whole lot more painful for our country
and that's looking in the future, and certainly Medicaid has had a cost problem for a while. But I'm just wondering, some states have initiated, for instance, a circuit breaker so that at year 3, if indeed the federal government isn't doing what you expected them to do, you can shut it down. So at least you get your Ohio tax dollars back 100% for the first 3 years.
Well, that sounds good, but we have to think about the people involved. And you don't start a program and then shut it down in 3 years for people. You have to think in a way that's sustainable, or else you're not really caring about people, even though you talk about it like you are.
I wanted to switch gears and ask you about education, the number of districts not getting their money reduced from 400 to 175. How did you do that?
The talk of the governor's proposal and ours being radically different is overstated as well. We took the framework that was proposed, but we saw, and that, frankly, I think they realized that there were problems in their projections and how they had run that needed tweaking, and so we applied more tweaking than I think the administration's comfortable with, so that process will continue. But we were trying to normalize our recovery in how we fund our schools and do it in a way that is thoughtful and has has the mechanism that can be sustainable. That conversation needs to continue too, because we're still concerned about how we get from where we are, which is kind of never land. It's been years since we've had a really functioning formula, and so we need to try to get to one that is rational and is helpful to our schools.
To districts, whether they be urban, rural,
Right.
suburban, that sort of
That's
thing.
correct.
You know, we were down to about a minute, Representative Amstutz. The big oil tax, was that just a lead balloon? Was that never going to sail through the Republican caucus?
Well, here's what's going on in the tax world. We have a beginning process with our 7% income tax reduction immediately and permanently, but we think we can do more. The administration wants to do more. We think the Senate wants to do more, but we need to work with interested parties to develop a bigger package. I think the severance discussion, it's not a very big piece of revenue in the next several years, despite all the noise about that. So that will be still part of that discussion, because all those options are going to be on the table as we work together. It's not going to be in the House version because there isn't enough time. There needs to be more work done. There were some fairly significant weaknesses in the introduced version on the tax proposal. So we're going to keep that work, and I expect to see a bigger tax package that will be helpful to our state's economy as we go forward.
Time of the essence, though.
Indeed, and we should point out, you only had a month to work on all of this, right?
That's correct. Some of the best work is done under pressure.
Right, and a conference committee to come after the Senate gets a hold of it.
That's correct.
We hope to have you back, Representative Amstutz. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Coming up, the budget heads to the state Senate. Can Democrats leverage their votes to make a difference on Medicaid? We're going to ask that very question to Senate Minority Leader Eric Kearney next.
Ohio politics never quiet, as we know. You can, noise, as Representative Amstutz calls it. You can join in by following us on Twitter or liking us on Facebook, and you can always watch us online, 10tv.com/Capitol Square.